It's time for Third Calling, where we ask the question, what are you doing the rest of your life? Perhaps you've retired, your nest is empty, you're in a transition, or thinking about what to do and be in a new season of life. Richard and Leona Bergstrom are co-directors of Reignite and authors of the book Third Calling. They're here to challenge and encourage each of us to follow God's calling and live with purpose and passion for the rest of our lives.
And we do have Richard and Leona Bergstrom with us once again, looking at Third Calling. What are you doing with the rest of your life? A lot of boomers listen to KCIS, and I thought the content of this book by the Bergstroms would be so helpful to the KCIS listening audience. Now, I'm 57. Am I looking for my third calling yet, guys?
That's why we're here, Mark. This is personal.
Well, we're into principle number 2 this week in living out your third calling. Leona, what is the second principle?
We think it's vitally important that you understand your own story and how God has woven your story and made you who you are. We feel that it's important to look back before moving forward. Richard and I have always loved the mentorship of Dr. Gordon MacDonald. And several years he wrote a book called The Resilient Life. And he said this. He said, we need a big picture of where we've been before we can see where we are going. And that's sort of the basis of understanding your story and the exercise of what has been called life review or reminiscence or whatever, but to look back on the important people, events, and circumstances that have shaped you to be the person that you are. I want to add that there's a lot of study been done on how important this is. Obviously, it's important spiritually. The Bible tells us over and over again to not forget what God's done, to remember what He's done, to look back at how He's woven life and history. And we found in our work with folks that emotionally, life review is really important. You look back and you see the moments of joy, the moments of satisfaction and victory and pain. You also may discover sometimes that you need to involve yourself in a little forgiveness. Scientifically, even, interestingly, scientists are finding that it's critical to our human development to look back and discover who it is we are and the events of our life.
Well, this sounds like kind of almost kind of a life inventory. What's healthy and maybe unhealthy about a life review, Richard?
Well, I think it's overall a very healthy process. It can shed light on who you are and how you're wired. Obviously, some people have some dark things in their past that may be sin that needs to be confessed or offenses that need to be forgiven. But beyond that, it's just helpful to get a larger perspective on your life. I've been through several different iterations of life review. I remember back in 1989, I was in a time of transition, and I just put together a scrapbook of my life, and it became bigger and bigger and bigger, and it helped me to understand that there are more chapters to be written, that this wasn't the end or the final chapter. There are other guided processes that we have used and have done in our retreats, different assessments that help us to understand that. But looking back is a healthy thing to do, but there also is a time to kind of turn the page on that and look forward. And I'm reminded of the words of the Apostle Paul in Philippians 3, after doing this life review of his religious past, which included persecuting Christians. That was pretty bad. He was able to say, forgetting what is behind, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. So it's looking back, but then turning the corner on that and looking forward and having that future perspective for his life.
Just to reiterate the importance of this principle, because to look at our lives and how God has been faithful, and it's just critical to us discovering what our third calling is. I'm reminded of Frederick Buechner's quote, and if I could just end this session with this. Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery it is, in the boredom and pain of it, no less than the excitement and gladness. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it, because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments, and all of life itself is grace.
Okay, I like the sound of that. We need it. What are we doing with the rest of our lives? Third Calling, the book by Richard and Leona Bergstrom, explores all of these ideas. You have seminars. Your overall ministry is called Reignite.
re-ignite.net.
re-ignite.net. And, of course, thirdcalling.com for more details about the book. And maybe having Richard and Leona maybe have a seminar at your church or your gathering. Again, this has been Third Calling with Richard and Leona Bergstrom on KCIS.
You've been listening to Richard and Leona Bergstrom. directors of Reignite, and authors of Third Calling. What are you doing the rest of your life? To learn more about discovering your purpose and following your calling, visit thirdcalling.com. You can order their book, as well as an accompanying study guide on Amazon or on the Third Calling website. You can also listen to this feature again at kcisradio.com.